Alhamdulillah.
Okay, sorry about that. All right, thanks, Prof. Okay, this is my short presentation on the Muslim thought for sustainable. I think the previous speakers has done help a lot for the theory part. So I think we need also to discuss a bit on the practical part, and this is actually my duty to sort of tie up some of the practical issues with regard to sustainability. So I think Prof. Akmal has mentioned yesterday that in Islam is sustainable. Okay, he mentioned the words as social justice, taking care of orphans, and then he also mentioned about social enterprises. Okay, and then Dr. Ibrahim Nuhu mentioned about taqwa, and this morning we talked about Lailatul La ilaha illallah, and also Dr. Hairil mentioned relevant issues regarding fairness and so on. Okay, my presentation divided into 4 areas. Basic concept of sustainability, issues of sustainability, Islamic modes. So this is where I think the difference is, because after getting all the ayat Quran and the hadith, we would like to operationalize, right? So tomorrow's forum will take out from here, inshallah. Okay. All right, what is the basic concept of sustainability? Well, I mentioned also in my previous presentation at the Kuliah, is I take the definition from the Bulletin Report, 1987, which says that, it must contain 3 basic concepts. Okay, number 1 is living within certain limits of the earth capacity. So in itself here, you already tie up to the verses of Quran. Okay, there are also limit to life. But the important thing we need to realize that the earth is created by God. We are only subservient to God, and we are actually only the what do you call that? The vicegerent of it. And then understanding of interconnection, society, economy, and environment, and distribution, right? Fair distribution. You mentioned the work Al-Mizan, right? So sustainable means to maintain, right? We have to maintain life. After this, we're going to have lunch. We need to survive. Basically, sustainability is also equivalent to survival, right? So as I had highlighted in red below, is that the part of environmental has always been sort of, not to say not taken care, but since we are in the economic and finance area, we are already been emphasizing from the monetary perspective. Okay, we've been talking about making profit, and we want to Islamize it. We change it into tawaruk, okay, debt based. Have we considered other issues, for example, like being fair, society? Then we talk a little bit about Islamic finance. But still on the sustainability, is basically a systemic issue, right? Systemic here means it is a structural issue. Structure means if you touch one point, it will affect the other. So as you can see a picture on the right side. Okay, you have the wind affected by the land, and you have a big sort of valley there with all those forests and so on. And if you take an example of water pollution is an ecosystem that affects human life. Water is so very important that people also WAQAF water. In South Africa, they also WAQAF for water. Human livelihood and well-being, right? So it's actually difficult to really talk about sustainability because it's actually touch various issues. Right? So the closest sustainability that I can think of is very close to us. All right, just up there, you go out on the left there, you see an issue of sand mining with regard to our Pusu River, okay? Sungai Pusu, and we have problem of pollution affecting us and also going down affecting our river. Right? So this is an example of sand mining with regard of water pollution by the land. Right? Of course, there are other examples. Environmental issues on sustainable behavior. So since I'm given this topic about Muslim thought and action, what are the issues insofar as Ummah is concerned? Why is it so dirty up there, people are actually just throwing things, you know, tissue paper, I don't know what we have up there, trash in the river. Okay. And below there, it's quite close to us also. We're talking about food being wasted. All right, open house. Well, I think this must be Hari Raya. And also sometimes we also have this problem in the mahala, where people don't eat, and just, even if they eat, they just throw away all those things. So much so that it's affecting the world. All right. So if we see the number of wastage there, 3,000 tons per day. All right. Malaysian force 15,000 tons food. And there's so many figures that we can see there. There can be avoided. All right. But are issues to sustainability. All right. Total, they call it KETO, 92,486. And in terms of dollars, you can see it's actually 2,000 to 5,000 a month, 2,700 per year. Okay, what are the issues of environment some more? Right, these are the what that I add up in addition to what I presented in the Kuliah, is that global warming. All right, global warming. All right, the NASA reported that the period between 2016 resulted in 16 hottest year. All right, Fahrenheit increased up to 10 Fahrenheit per century, and heat waves. And recently, as you know, a lot of forest fire in even Istanbul has gone down to Greece and all those. What are the result of all this? Are these not result of global warming? All right, carbon dioxide. People get trapped in the, of course now COVID, not so much traffic. Soon the traffic be coming to the roads again. We have car, planes trapped, causing global warming. Right? Gas leakage, the Bhopal issue, as you're aware, resulted in hundreds being died due to the toxic leak of a chemical factory. Pollution of river, 5,000 premature deaths in Southern California. This is close to our dean's university. Maybe you can comment. 5,000 premature deaths in Southern California. And many other issues that I put in, which also related to what we call sustainability. All right. Now, regard to a pandemic, of course, I also mentioned the importance of MSME. We're trying to address this also with our student social entrepreneurs programs. Okay, and so of course, due to the lockdown, we have problem in sustainability of the SME. All right, we have difficulties for them to get finance, and a survey indicate that 71% of self-employed respondents have saving less than a month. Actually, are totally unprepared for the lockdown. All right, so they have problem with cash flow. And of course, we have a problem in cash flow with regard to fixed costs. All right, fixed costs, as you are aware, is something that we have to incur. For example, like rental costs, salary, and all this, and yet money is not coming in. So the government has given a lot of supply, 250 million, but are we really targeting to the right kind of people and the kind of finance that we are giving? So SDG, this is the literature for sustainability from the Western perspective. All right, there are 17 goals, 16 targets, 240 indicators. Okay, so you're aware there are 17 goals there. And the point that I'd like to emphasize again is that we are not actually only on the economic development side. Okay, when we talk about sustainable, of course, we talk about other parameters. One is the environmental performance and the social inclusions. So I mentioned about just now pollution, I mentioned about gas leakage and also global warming. But this is the ecological aspect of sustainability. So myself now there is also a new school from governance, you call it ESG, economic social governance. So in other words, our study, our knowledge has also expanded, not only governance, but include ESG. So this is something, a research that we like to do as well. Right? Sustainable resources, okay, sustainable waste, as mentioned, you can see from the picture. And our Kuliah economy, of course, is more development of society. Right? What have we done? What are we going to do with these people? So again, this one, it is something like literature, and we talk about people. So people, the equivalent to Islamic perspective is the intellect, right? al-akal, all right? So then we have, of course, the other parameter is the planet. Planet is lineage, according to this literature. But this is something we can argue. As scholars, we don't have to follow all this. And I also wonder how they can equivalent planet to life also. Maybe we live in a planet, that's why there's life. And of course, profit. Profit, there are various, what do you call that, equivalent words they said about prosperity, all right, and al-mal, all right. But profit is profiteering to me, okay? So is it the same as al-mal, all right? So coming back to the topic, I have to relate to the Islamic perspective is, of course, the concept of sustainable from the Quran. This has been mentioned, all right, but I'd like to mention a few more. For example, Al-Mulk 7:15, it is said that, it is he who made the he who made the earth for you. So walk among its slopes and eat his provision to him and instruction. All right. So this is very related to the previous speakers, and what I'm trying to put here is basically in how to operationalize issues from the various discipline of the kuliah. Hopefully we'll pick up some kind of research later. Okay? So Al-Ghazali has mentioned, man no doubt is compelled with three things: nourishment, bread and water, home and clothes. This is why we try to address some of these issues in our flagship. Okay, we talk about later on. We talk about the flagship. So this part, I think I have to explain. Right, I'm also not very expert, but I just want to say that Rukun Islam, prayer, zakat. Okay, these are basically that as Muslim we have to follow. Right, fasting, pilgrimage. And we talk about Iman, this is just taught by Dr. Railatul. Okay, believe in Allah and one God. And she said beautifully, she already took through a journey, right? And Allah is one. Should we believe or should we not believe? Of course we should believe. And there are other things as well, right? Believe in angels, believe in books, Allah Messenger, and so on. But what we like to do, as it's also mentioned, is that not only believe, okay, we also have to practice, right? So he said that issue that maybe we would like to discuss, why is that the thinking and the practice seems to quite different. If we manage to solve these issues, we solve the issue for sustainability. All right, no more issue on humanizing of education and so on. So maybe we can discuss this tomorrow. Okay, Fardhu Ain, Fardhu Kifayah, this is part of our social responsibility. And we, as you are aware, of course, meeting Rahmatan lil Alamin, which is actually what the university plans to do, is we take into consideration at least three variables. Our role as a Khalifa, as mentioned just now, the vice currency. Okay, what is it? Are we supposed to see fair or not fair? Or what? Or should we improve? It's not fair. Can we improve further? Okay, concept of shura, of what do you call the togetherness. Tomorrow, I think Prof. Sami will talk about MIS. This is important or not, right? And the concept of fundamentals of governance society. Right? These are very basic. So I will back up what I said just now, also with other scholars have said by Al-Quran. Right? Islam promotes development both socially and economically. And what is Al-Ansaf? 853 has said. This is so because Allah will never change a grace which he has bestowed on a people until he changed what is in ourselves. Okay. So to me, this ayat, a very powerful ayat, keep on reminding us, right? But sometimes we still see the gap, right? In terms of practice, we see the gap. Now, what seems to be the problem? Is it we don't understand, or maybe we live in two worlds? We understand and practice differently. But this is also ayat Quran, right? So there's many ayat Quran, so I can just explain. I will share this slide later in Araf. Just now, I think Dr. Hairi also mentioned Araf. Eat and drink, but waste not by excess. He love not the excessive. All right. So we are not to be supposed to be excessive. And there's so many ayat here if I can read, but I prefer to discuss. Water consumption, water preservation, touching of Prophet Muhammad. Don't waste water, even if you are running a river, it says. And water pollution. So many of this ayat. But yet, we see water pollution and people wasting. This is an issue. So when you talk about the SDG and Islamic perspective, I would not like to look at the 5 first, all right? Although that I've mentioned just now, people, planet, prosperity. There's also peace, and peace the equivalent need to life. Partnership is something, and we'll come to that. Right? But the issue of that is actually we should not be looking at this. We should look at the one on the left. All right. What is the guidance of Maqasid in understanding what is sustainability? All right. They are two, of course, different too. The school, it looks the same. Right? Justice, for example. Right? Justice in conventional economy probably is there. Still justice. Right? But for us, no, we cannot. Right? We need to be sure that when we give a loan or we give help the poor, it should not be not based on interest. Qadru Hasan, WAQAF, Zakat. Right? These are the elements that we talk about prosperity and helping people from the Islamic perspective. There must be balance. All right? What we do must balance. All right? There should not be one person taking over another. Mildness, rahmah, also mentioned many times just now. Amanah. Okay? Haq. Okay. So these are the elements that I would like to look first before I understand what is sustainability from the Western perspective, right? So this is the equivalent I am saying just now. Maybe we would like to discuss tomorrow, or just take note of it. Kita about how the people, right? The people concerned, you talk about peace, right? So peace is it, the equivalent SDG 3 here. Intellect. These are the several SDG. But of course, we are Western oriented. We still full sail all this. Number 1, no poverty. Number 2, no hunger. But it's okay. As long as it helps people, no problem. But I would like to suggest, we as scholars, we look at the one on the left side first. The lineage. What is lineage? All right. Planet. How does it come to sit? Maybe I said this now. Because of relation to people. Property. Al-Mal, and partnership is Al-Adin. Okay, so this is ayat Quran here, but I would love to see the ayat Quran first before I see the SDG. Right? And because why? It is already written in the ayat Quran. Why must we look at the Western definition of SDG? It's written there. Al-Kaf. We have adorned the earth with attractive things so that we may test people to find out which of them do the best. Okay, and there's also a lot of hadiths, right? The one, maybe we can just read the one on the left. I said Kurdi, which says that Allah, all right, peace upon him, that peace upon him, the world is sweet and green, alluring, right? And verily Allah is going to install you a vicegerent in it in order to see the act. Okay, there's so many things here, right? I just come out. This one I mentioned, but I would like to mention the one below. What Prophet has said. He who sleeps on a full stomach with his table or goes hungry is not one of us. Okay? This is hadith, and we hold to hadith and Quran. And if any Muslim plants a tree, this is something I also become to know, or sow a field. A human, bird, or animal eat, we should be reckoned as a charity. So how beautiful is it? Huh? How beautiful. You plant something, the animal eat, you also get charity. So these are something that we should be thinking of and broaden our horizon so far as sustainability is concerned. Spiritual element in finance, of course. All right, this is close to us. Ruhyah refer to unconditional belief in unity and sovereignty. As I mentioned just now, we are vicegerent to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. We're supposed to develop imarah in life. Okay, so these are the examples that we are close to us. And of course, as mentioned many times, and you all already probably know, it is stem out for this understanding what Maqasid Sharia is all about. Okay, it's from the Quran and Sunnah. And of course, it's an extension of Ghazali and Juwaidi. It's actually his lecturer, something like this. So the issue of element comes to play. Right. This is what I think we should be subscribing to. All right. O ye who send Muhammad by a mercy to universe. Al-Anbiya 107. Right. So I'm just about to conclude also, where I like more on the discussion is that if you look at the model, then in that case, the economic model that we are having actually is not the only model that we should be promoting so far as sustainability is concerned, right? Why? We talk about definition of banking, all right? We talk about Islamic banking, Islamic economic, so on and so forth. And we wrote a lot of literature on this. Okay. In fact, I just found an article written by Brother Irwan, shared or something on WAQAF. Okay. We look, all right, there's a lot of literature, fantastic, but where is the practice? Okay, where is the practice? To what extent do we follow that our student given zakat really gets it, and what is the kind of project that they have? I think this is something that is lacking and that we should address. And so far, this so-called humanizing education is concerned, right? WAQAF, all right? So if you look at economic model in itself, already there's some gap there we should address. Notwithstanding these other two elements below here, right? The social aspects, okay? So we talk about our own products, our own, what has been said by previous speaker, our own behavior. Yeah? Imara, the topic is of the whole, is attributes, isn't it? I mentioned also attributes. Attributes is character, behavior. Do we carry this character, okay, of Khalifa? Okay? And environmental just now. Are we concerned with the balance of environment? Okay. So I'll come out to models, of course, right? What else I'm going to say? Because if we look at the model, then perhaps which is closest to us, we find out, argue, right, whether this model is correct model. So it's the model that I see that closest to Islamic is, of course, the A model, all right? The A model, however, is based on the Grameen Bank model, all right? So it's actually, although it's amanah ikhtiar in helping the poor, but if you look at the scheme, right, the scheme is very much the same as banking scheme. Why? Because it's based on fixed profit, right? They don't call it profit, all right? It's based on certain rate that the customer has to pay. It is the closer that we are talking insofar as sustainability finance is concerned. Yeah? What about other models? All right. Of course, we say a competitor, but the other one equivalent to Grameen is, of course, the AKHUWAT model, all right, the Pakistan model. Now, it so happened that when we talk about this, the center is not the bank. The center is the mosque, all right? So AKHUWAT model is based on the mosque-based model. All right, it's a very successful model, contributes a lot of help to society. All right, and this is a kind of statistic that we can see. All right, you might argue, but certainly it's a zero interest, zero loan. All right, and it is Qadr Hassan concept, and it is very successful. It's very successful to help the poor. All right, and of course we look at another model. We call it the KUM model. Komunitas usaha micro muamalat basis. Right? This is something like we've been practicing in Indonesia, bank muamalat. It's a bank making model, but it is more towards entrepreneurship, micro entrepreneurs. So our bank perhaps should be also doing this type of model. Okay? Cash WAQAF model. This is something that we are thinking of. Like part of my students' job here. We're trying to how we could practice cash WAQAF in Selangor, all right, using this so-called micro-entrepreneurship model, okay, whereby we get cash WAQAF from the MAIS or MAIC, whichever you go, and this PWS is appointing the mosque has a matawali, right? So as a matawali, the AJK of the mosque can act on behalf to look at what do you call that, eligible micro entrepreneurs, right? Of course they know within the masjid. So we talk about this kitchen thing, which is actually quite close to our heart because it's helping the poor. It's very close to if you're doing well, basically we address this issue, right? So we give some kind of finance form, not loan form, and then the AJK will do some kind of evaluation, pass it back to the PWS, WAQAF Selangor, and evaluate. So ultimately, we have a finance, right? This is of course not conventional finance. It's based on ijarah mutamid tabligh arrangement. Okay, Mofsan model. And this type of finance really help people. Why? Because it's no interest. It's based on rental. Rental could be based on the actual value of the property. It's based on Ichara. We are familiar about that. Okay, and it had help. It can help, in fact, this issue of kitchen. People now talking about buying tractors, small type. So why this model? Are we actually promoting this model? This is the question. Okay, so it's going to help my kitchen. This makcik-makcik ni, the women folks. All right, they would like to buy something for their utensils. We can help them. And just to share with you, alhamdulillah, it has also gone to our students. Now, actually, our students are doing their first practical menu testing. Okay, and alhamdulillah, we managed to help, right? And using our Wadi Budi kitchen, right? And they have already embarked to this program in Hari Malaysia, right? We make use of Mahala system. This is something I would like to share that we never think of. All right. In fact, we thought the children can never do this, but it has proven. All right, it has proven. Okay, and Rector came also to give them. This is something I think we are very happy. Right, we're happy through, and I also invite colleagues from camp. I will be mentioning that to look on sustainability issues to help the student. Why we need to help the student? Very simple. But these are Ashnaf students. All right, these are Ashnaf students, and in the COVID situation, definitely they are not getting money from their parents, and they are working on Ashnaf. We like to empower them. If we teach them the right way, they can become an entrepreneur later on. From zakat donors to become zakat givers. Okay, this is the thing that we would like to think. On our corporate side, of course, we can expand further. All right, we talk about WAQAF. I know everybody knows this. Right, it's a Johor state model based again on cash off, whereby 70% investment from WAQAF, Jacobs is given back to them. 20% is channeled through the mosque prayer room, and 5% back. All right. So this is quite interesting model also that we should popularize. But how many of us actually look at this? Perhaps writing papers, no problem. But actually, we also like to practice. And we said that's now relating to helping the Muslim and so on. Right. Again, the word mizan is mentioned. Right. So that's all I have to say. Not so much. I think this is also quite familiar. I trying to say that the concept of sustainability was an integral part of Muslim during the 17th century, and this is where Prophet start in Mecca, and also eventually, as you are aware, this Ottoman Empire 400 years ago have been very successful. In fact, the kitchen model is derived from the soup kitchen model, which is from Turkey. Right? I think Prof. Akmal also mentioned about in the first day, he said that there's no orphanage during Prophet's time. Okay, so it is similar to SDG goal, but to me, it is more. Right? When we talk about sustainability, helping the poor, it's actually ensure justice, fairness, and fulfilling the spiritual dimension. So at least I hope, there's something that I have shared with you all, but I think the issue of sustainability should be seen not only from the economics perspective, all right? We should also take into consideration the environmental factor as well as the social inclusion. With that, Assalamualaikum warahmatullah. Thank you so much. Dr. Hafiz, all yours.
Okay, thank you very much, Dr. Dzuljastri, for your sharing session. So maybe we have about 10 minutes to 15 minutes if anybody would like to share some further on the issue. Okay, I just would like to open for some not necessarily question, maybe just some thoughts or comments, okay?
Comments
on the issue which has been raised by Dr. Dzuljastri. Okay, please, anybody?
Yes, most welcome. I think the economics colleague will have some thing to comment.
Okay, anything? Okay. Any comments, response to these issues?
Assalamualaikum, Prof. Congratulations.
Yeah, okay, Prof.
How to subscribe this sustainable development into our thought and action by all of us, because this is something new to us. And when something new, people have this wait and see attitude. And how can we get more? For example, in UNGS subject, we have a difficulty to get many people to teach. As a result, we have to teach 40, 50 students. Based on the ratio of lectures, now we have 4,000, 5,000, but easily we can get smaller class because of there is no incentive, there is no monetary incentive, nothing, it's just voluntary. Difficult, Prof. Nowadays, when everything monetized and you ask for voluntary, nobody wants to do, Prof. To collect rubbish, nobody wants to do. To clean toilet, nobody wants to do. To cook for free, nobody wants to do. If you want to cook free, you buy Thermomix, okay. But now you ask us to slice until we crying, nobody wants to do. So if you use Thermomix, no need to cry. What do you think, Prof?
Yeah, this one actually has been mentioned also by previous speaker. Talk about Islamic and NAS and all this. I'm not the person, but certainly I asked that same question also with Prof. Akmal. See? So I think there is a gap, definitely. I think the gap is that the way we understand religion and the way we practice religion seems to be different. But I don't know why that seems to be the problem. Maybe that is also why I think the present administration or doctor is trying to emphasize on the sejahtera, whatever he says, sejahtera, lestari and whatnot. So that is an issue that you can pick up tomorrow. Why is our education system? But I did mention, I asked Prof. Akmal, he said that we need to do slightly more than what we are doing now. Maybe what we seems to be lacking is that under the practice of it, the amalan of it. So that is something that I think we need to, as lecturer, Professor, make sure that the things not only what you call that is in publishable, scopers, but it's also, I think, maybe one or two projects. We talk about the Sulam project, then later on we talk about SAF and all those. So at least if during this Ibadah, that's what I was mentioned earlier, why we're trying to focus here, that if we have that kind of knowledge, we can have that kind of understanding. So I'm very, very sure that, going ahead, next semester, October 4th, we can do and make the difference. And one of the difference is having flagship project, not only the kitchen, but so Dr. Ati is promoting the youth and single mother, and Prof, we have that, what do you call that, disabled project. That's only from economy, but I'm sure, I think it's the practice, Prof. The practice is the practice that we need to be done. Yeah. Dr. Irwan, boleh komen lagi?
Thank you, Dr. Zul. Maybe just to share my view with regard to this the topic that you presented this morning on the sustainability from the Muslim mind. I think Islam as a comprehensive religion, it acknowledges our fitrah, our nature. Of course, at the initial beginning, like what Prof. Suhaimi mentioned, when someone is new, have just joined the university or first time teaching the UNGS course and stuff, the spirit to volunteer, to sacrifice, to contribute will be very high. But then, because of human nature, we have to acknowledge that kind of thing is not sustainable. I think I also like the question posted by Dr. Rosailin from EDC. I mean, this kind of free thing, volunteer, you motivate people to sacrifice, to contribute for free. Of course, I mean, different people will have different level of their ability to continue to really help others for free, to provide everything for free. But in the end, I think all of us have our own limitations. we have to acknowledge that we also have other dimensions. We also would like to be appreciated. We would like to be recognized. We would like to be rewarded materially. If I were to teach that thing, you know, it should be properly recognized. Credit hours would be acknowledged, or some additional incentive and stuff, because that's the nature. Even if you look in the history, the Prophet ﷺ, all these great leaders, Alexander and stuff, when they led their armies to conquer, in the end, they know when their armies have become exhausted and stuff, they have to promise with certain kind of rewards, you know, because otherwise it will not be sustainable. So this kind of I think whatever great projects or initiatives that your team and kitchen and stuff, I mean, I like that idea, because it seems that at somewhere later there is a stage where you're gonna basically provide the kind of monetary rewards, because this is, we cannot say that people have become materialistic, but I think this is the way if we really want to sustain something, because not everyone has the same kind of ability and limitations. We need to have this kind of in mind. So if we want to embark in any great initiative, we have to acknowledge that in the long run, we have to acknowledge the human nature, that we also, you know, need to be depends. I mean, some kind of material rewards need to be properly given in the scheme, so that the project is sustainable. I mean, that's just my opinion. Thank you, Dr. Zul.
Yeah, I think I agree with you also on that point. Yeah, anybody want to ask? Because now they talk about having this WAQAF time. They talk about WAQAF time, but question is to what extent we have this WAQAF time, WAQAF time for students, WAQAF time for staff.
No money, no talk, Prof. No money, no talk. Factors production, land labor, capital, still there.
I get attracted to Dr. Irwan's notion. If that's the case, is Allah not enough? Reward from Allah is not enough for you, for us, for everybody. Do they think to that level?
We need
how
to
small
buy
is the
food.
demand? They talk about rewards.
Yeah.
So
Vehicles.
of course, monetary is important. I do agree to that. But the question now is that, are we not understand that rewards from God is much higher than what we have from monetary rewards or any other rewards? Something wrong somewhere down there that we have to instill something, so that you think about rewards from God is much bigger. If I were to say there are people who are doing with what we know, and they don't need others. But since we are with a group of people who want rewards, monetary rewards, tangibly, then you see this what happened. We have to face these people. So not to deny what Dr. Irwan said, but this what happened. Something wrong with the emotion, the feeling, the spirit towards the basic things that rewards from God is much bigger. But we need money to sustain, agree. But do we really think about money so much in some voluntary work, especially when it comes to masjid, and also what we are doing now with the M Kitchen? Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Prof, you can share Gontor experience.
We are not control.
Hafiz, you went to Gontor, right? How Gontor sustain without money, they can sustain how?
We are not control. We are not the WAQAF University.
Okay.
Have Gontor experience, perhaps they can transfer their spirituality, that they can live without money.
I think first of all is the knowledge lah. Give it a chance. I think, you know, we are going through this critical review. We talk about the SAF and not, you know, but at least we are appreciative of what it's all about. Whether it's practical or not, like Dr. Irwan said, we can always feedback the management. Whether we need some kind of what sort of a reward. Maybe this is a tie up to our promotion or what, something like this, that maybe, you know, we could add up later to the dean or the head. This is my thinking.
Okay. There is one question from Prof. Aslam, I think so.
Aslam.
Prof. Aslam. Clarification. Who are we asking to volunteer?
Oh, I see. The volunteer, I suppose, is related too much on the project. But at this point, I would say it's both Prof, the staff as well as the student. Student come in to help because it's required or we order them to do. But from leadership perspective, I think the staff will have to take the lead. That's why we have we have the, what call it, flagship project, something like this, you know. Because
Sorry,
to volunteer,
Dr.
it's very
Yeah.
general, yeah.
Dr. Zul, can I just make a observation? I mean, I'm referring to the point maybe Dr. Rosaline, I think, asked the question, yeah? How to balance between voluntary action and need to be paid. So that is why I was asking, who are we asking to volunteer? If we are talking about the staff of the university, then you are being paid your salary, right?
Yeah.
And if I go back to the earlier days, we never got paid for anything we did. Okay, and it is only maybe, unfortunately, it's been around for a long time already. Even if you go and attend the students' function, the students want to pay you. I never experienced this when I was a student, or even when I first joined as academic staff. Whatever lectures you did, whatever ceramah you gave, it was part of your contribution. You never asked for money and you were never given money. But this seems to have been something that is now being put forward. Lecturer give lecture in the students program and they want to pay you. Right? I don't understand where this came from, but apparently that seems to have been something that is now part of it. So when Dr. Rosaline is asking who is going to volunteer, I believe as far as the staff are concerned, like yourself and others who are involved in the M Kitchen, you are giving your time because you want to contribute.
Yes.
But for students who are going to be involved in the program as participants, I'm not sure whether we need to ask them to volunteer, because you said they are also, ASNAF, right? If they are ASNAF, then they are doing that project. They should be given maybe some reward for doing whatever they are doing. So I think, the issue is the volunteerism comes from people who are already being paid salaries. The participant of the program should get a return. Not only they are contributing something, but they are also getting a return, and that can be done in the form of, whatever you want to call it, allowance or, So I would have thought that, you don't ask the participants of the program, the ones who are the program is meant for, to also volunteer their service. They need to get a return because they are doing it to become entrepreneur, right?
Yeah. Prof, I just do a correction. Yeah, sorry, maybe I didn't. I'm not talking about M Kitchen. I took it before. Yeah, there are two objectives on the M Kitchen. One is to give them free food. All right. So when we get the sadaqah, whoever want to donate, the first thing that they do, I just can only quote the model in Ashakirin because it's not in work in UIA. So last Ramadan, before Puasa, we get funds from donation in Ashnaf Mosque in Ashakirin, and we produce, or rather we cook about average of 300 food, right? So 200 is given to the Ashnaf, and 100 I think we sell quote unquote sell, because from the money also we get a return to produce more free food. So likewise, we're going to do that in UIA, Prof. The student will get free food. Okay, our issue is now to get the money. Once we get the money, we will have this plan, something like they call it Ashnaf Entrepreneur. Okay, we've returned to zakat also, and based on this argument, they also have a zakat program. Then the idea is to sort of empower, I mentioned, but it's not easy lah. These students sometimes they are also studying, and unless they see something that is rewarding, we will tend to hesitant to participate. I mean, this is something we need to coach the student. This is my view of it. So definitely the student don't volunteer, Prof.
Well, if that is the case, Dr. Zul, then I think our university has lost its way because I can always remember student days, even up to the 90s, everything was volunteer. Students were doing things. They are not being paid anything. So I don't understand why students need to be paid if they are doing some work for EMSS or whichever organization. I'm referring to the ones who are targeted as the recipients. If they are contributing in a project, they could get some kind of return because they are working for a project. Like you hire an RA or you hire students to do certain things on a longer term basis. But students as a whole, I don't know how common it is, right? But we have all these organizations, societies in UIA. Surely the students are not being paid to become EMSS president or secretary or committee members, right? It's part of their experience in the university. But the ones who are participating as, let's say, they come under that ASNAF category, and you are bringing them in to work on a project, they can get a return because they are, yeah. So this is why I just want to clarify, because when I saw the query from Dr. Rosailin, I was not sure who you are talking about when you say volunteer, right? The
Yeah, Dr.
volunteerism.
Razalin, maybe you want to ask more questions. Because actually, you are heading the EDC. EDC is slightly different. You train students to make money.
No. Based on my experience, when we're talking about staff, okay, somehow some of the activities or the programs, all of a sudden the staff being appointed to become volunteer without permission us at the first place. So boleh ke kita nak tolak benda tu, atau dia akan memberi impact pada kerjaya kita, masa depan kita, perjalanan hidup kita di UIA ni? Sebab ada setengah-setengah tu saya tengok pattern sekarang, tiba-tiba je dapat surat appointment untuk whatever project ke program ke.
Betul tu.
So yang itu yang saya rasa how to
that one I agree lah.
After years it has been known that issue has been brought up. Initially nobody say anything. I dapat, I buat je lah, dia buat macam mana, what to do. Sometimes you got
sebab kadang-kadang dia menuntut masa kita lebih daripada yang sepatutnya kan. Lepas tu sebagai manusia biasa, kita akan ada rasa, adakah aku dipergunakan, adakah mereka tidak menghargai, macam mana benda tu bermain-main lah, berlega-lega diminda lah. So bila benda macam ni jadi satu benda yang difikirkan lah macam tu.
I think we have to go to another level of ibadah camp if this is the case. Because nobody asked us to help siapa-siapa yang jatuh kat tepi jalan tu. And I don't say that I'm a pious to that highest level, but the way sometimes I look at certain things, nobody asks us to off the tape when the water is running. So those are the basic things, but this one get more time, more hours. Whether do we feel that we are being used, dipergunakan? I don't say that kita dipergunakan at one point. Is that how do we see our environment? Is our environment taking advantage of us, or our environment do not have any expert and we are available there? Are we the best there? Have you seen that or not? That's why I used to see in that manner. But sometimes when I see there's a lot of great people around and I've been used, I'm used for something, then I withdraw. But the question here is that when we say, how do we understand that we are dipergunakan, we are being used? How do we know that?
Can I make a point? I think the point that has been raised is very important. If you are being asked to volunteer, then it means that it fits with it. For example, it doesn't clash with your family time and so on and so forth, right? So you are volunteered. You are volunteering. That's not a problem. But I think the issue is when you are forced to volunteer, that's no longer volunteering, right? This is like what I can see happening in schools. Everybody is joining a club, but they're forced to join a club. So very often they join a club that they don't want to participate in, and so they don't participate. So the issue is sincere volunteering or forced volunteering, which is actually not volunteering. And I think it goes against the Islamic spirit.
If you don't volunteer, you have been boycotted.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, I think what
Being
Dr.
labelled, Dr. Wadi, being labelled.
Tak adil.
Dr. Razali mentioned as well, correct. There must be a letter regulation, whatnot, and also the bosses, the head, the dean, should know at least what you are doing, for record purposes, for promotion or whatever. I think this factor should be taken into consideration. This is my view, But it seems that the new management, SAF, this is a bit more demanding. So I think question is whether we can cope or we should cope. Then something we need to discuss further, But the general understanding is that put UIA meeting Rahmatan lil Alamin. This is what has been discussed, and in that sense, probably we need more of our own self. More time for ourselves, for more time for the students. This is how I see it. So we can, discuss this further. I think tomorrow, inshallah, there'll be a good forum.
Sorry, Dr. Zul, I just want to make another point, because unfortunately tomorrow morning I will miss about half of the session. I have to be in another function. I'm looking at the comments and now I understand the context. Yeah, this is about maybe some of you, especially maybe the younger ones, are being asked to do all kinds of things, and there's a lot of pressure. I agree fully, but when I joined earlier, and I'm sure my senior colleagues can also say the same thing, we were also given orientation to do all kinds of things, which the seniors at that time were not asked to do, right? So it's a kind of a process. Now, how bad it is now, I don't know. You know better because you feel it, right? And I also believe that there is also now too many things being asked from lecturers, and sometimes with all the formal requirements of publication and research, etc. I think that there is a much bigger pressure now on younger staff who are just coming in. I keep telling people, if I was asked to become a lecturer now, I may not choose to become a lecturer because I don't see the scheme as a very attractive scheme, especially for the young ones. I mean, for the DS 45, it's not an attractive scheme. Add to that your academic trainee, I don't see how it could be an attractive scheme. Now, having said that, the issue is a balance. I think looking at the comments, it's a balance, right? And not to pick on the same people. Yeah, from what I gather, there may be a few people in every department, every single thing they are asked to do. Surely that has to stop. There is a no in the vocabulary. You just have to say no. Right? I mean, I cannot understand a staff who says that they cannot say no. Yeah, you can say no if you feel it is unfair.
It's a culture, Prof.
No, you have to say no. I mean, believe me, and I'm speaking from experience, right?
You have to go to another training.
Come to a point, you say no. You have to say no. But it has to be fair. It has to be fair. So I'm assuming in the kuliah, in the departments, there has to be a kind of a fair distribution of work, right? I mean, I could say that I've done my department duty for 30 years. So I've been the Ibadah camp director, I think 5-6 times in the past, and I'm not sure how many. So we've put in our apa they panggil tour of duty. Some of us have put it in already. So it needs to be done, but it has to be done in a fair way. All right. So I believe that kuliah leadership got to find a system in which you are able to make it in such a way that it becomes not a burden to anyone. Yeah? And I think that is where the issue is. Dr. Irwan was talking about the SDG course that is being asked from staff and it's not being paid, etc. Yeah, this is something which you probably need to take seriously, because now you're talking about a teaching assignment which requires you to do preparation, etc. Right? So I don't know much about the background of this, although I myself initially volunteered. I went for the first meeting, and then when I heard the inputs, I said, okay, maybe this is not what I had in mind lah. But the idea was to ask people to volunteer. But should it continue to be on a voluntary basis? I don't know. Anyway, Dr. Gairu is there, so maybe he wants to say
Prof.
something.
Gairu,
Thank you very much.
you can comment on this.
Can I, sorry to interrupt, can I quickly share an experience with everyone? So when I was in MMU, zaman dulu, when I was a very young lecturer, I was like any young lecturer, I did not dare say no. And then I observed that my senior professors were saying no all the time. But it was not out of laziness. They were justifying. They say, these are my commitments. If you ask me to do these extra things, then I will not be able to fulfill my other commitments. So for example, if you ask me to volunteer this thing, and then maybe because of this extra work, I can no longer do justice to my students in my normal classes, then I have to explain to the dean or whoever is asking me, these are the different issues. So they would say no politely. And I think that this is maybe something that the senior staff have to share with the younger staff, so that they do realize that actually they can negotiate, but there has to be reason. It's not just, oh, I'm lazy, I don't want to do anything. It's just, no, you have too many balls in the air at the moment. And so you have to share with your colleagues, say, look, I'm actually under a lot of pressure. And then, okay, people understand. And then because they understand, they can accept. Wallah, wallah.
Okay. Yeah, Prof. Gary, like to comment.
Okay. Maybe if there is last comment from our dean.
Yeah, first one is because people talking about that UNGS whatever is the code lah.
1201.
1201. I think the models that the rector want to do is to have this spirit of volunteerism. So that's why for that course, no one is the lecturers of the course, no one is being volunteered. Okay, then no one is being forced to teach that course. In fact, for that course, they send an announcement who want to volunteer. That one course it is talking about volunteering, and everyone who taught the course, they have already been told this is a volunteer type of course, and you are not going to be compensated either in term of credit hours or in term of money, whatever. Okay, what have been done is that there was a few meetings with the rector, and the lecturers for the course, and they are, I think they are point for promotions and for APAR, and they are also a recognition from the rector lah to all the staff who taught the course. And it has been memang from the start they already say that this is they are trying to look at this model, whether the model is going to work or not. Okay, even some time ago we are trying to push the rector to consider the credit hours for the lecturers who taught the course. Okay, but he insists that this is a voluntary type of model to see whether it's going to work or not. He talked about sejahtera. So that's for the course lah. And everyone who taught the course know what they are getting into. I don't think that is a forced volunteerism or something like that. Okay. But for all the other, if you are talking about M-Kitchen, M-Kitchen is purely volunteer. If you don't want to do, I think that there was one time during the meeting for flagship, and there was one flagship leader who said that they need to be compensated. Rector just flatly say that if you don't want to do it, don't do it. This is volunteer. Yeah, but they are things that volunteer, but if you are, but there are something lah where we have to see when we are talking about all this coordinator or something. The thing that team management have to do, they have to ask the person first before they appoint. There are cases where tiba-tiba je the people get the appointment letter. Okay, even I myself, I never know about this. Then you have this appointment. Okay, but there are cases that the management have to look at lah.
Yeah, I think what Dr. Zalin say also something different lah. She mentioning about projects, is it?
Yeah,
so projects.
The task force, there are cases, I think, because the university have a lot of task force. Supposedly, the members should have been told first before they are assigned to be the member, because
Mana ada, tak cakap pun.
then you have to ask the chair or something, or OSIC, kenapa dia tak tanya dulu lah.
Dia sayang tu, janganlah tanya.
Because sometimes it is by post, so tak boleh buat apa lah, because you are in EDC. You are not appointed because you are a lecturer. You are appointed because you are the deputy director of EDC. Yang tu, then you cannot run away lah, because you're already the deputy director. Yeah, because when they I think when the top management assign the group, they look at we have appointment by post and we have appointment by expertise. The appointment by expertise is the volunteering type, but appointment by post, then it's because your post, you have to do it lah.
Okay, maybe that one something you can take up later with top management. Yeah, any other things that, generally what I mentioned is something that is, controversial or what, you can improve or what. But to me, it's just that sustainability thing that I just want to share. Apparently, also quite new to me also. Because I thought when I joined UIA, it's only economics, Prof. So sorry about that, no? I understand economics, and to run away from it, we do it Islamic perspective. But the other two dimensions is still quite new to me, social and environment. So in that sense, I think sustainability is something that I learned personally. So hopefully that you all also gain, since you are talking about sustainability nowadays. There are also the other two dimensions as well, inshallah. Okay, Dr. Hafiz, pass one today.
Okay, thank you. Thank you very much, Dr. Dzuljastri, for enlightening sharing session. So before, Alhamdulillah, we have completed 2 days of Ibadah Camp, Alhamdulillah. Before I think we end, I just would like to remind tonight we will have
we have the
Tahlil, recitation of Yasin and Tahlil for those who are in difficulties lah. Okay, so we pray for all of our staff who are having difficulties. So inshallah we are asking from Allah to basically helps, reduce the burdens of those who are facing difficulties. So I think I just would like to remind all of us about that session. Although we say it's volunteer, again we say it's volunteer. So I hope those who are having times, so inshallah we will gather about 9 o'clock tonight, for Tahlil sessions.
Inshallah we volunteer.
Yeah, let's make dua for colleagues tonight, inshallah.
Allah. Thank you very much. I think I will you want to announce anything, Prof. Dr. Zul?
Tak ada. Is that tomorrow, inshallah, if you're around here, we have some sadaqah of food. So he prefer to come, can come, inshallah. Okay, thank you.
Thank you very much. So,
take picture.
Oh, picture. Do you want to take? I'm not sure.
Dengan nama je tu.
InsyaAllah ada.
And tomorrow is a forum session, inshallah. Okay, thank you very much. Assalamualaikum.
So I think inshallah we end our session today by recitation of Tasbih Kafara and reciting Suratul As. Assalamualaikum.
Waalaikumsalam. See you tonight.
Bye.
Masih Cik Zul. Dr. Zul, sorry.